Hello and welcome to the Soil Core's video on preparing for a pre-work conference meeting. Our group, the Soil Core team, received funding from the USDA NRCS to help train qualified individuals to perform soil health testing. The goal of this CEMA is to monitor soil carbon before and after an NRCS implemented conservation practice. Resources complementary to the information found on this module can be found at boisestate.edu/soil conservation. What you will learn in this video is what a pre-conference meeting is, how to schedule a pre-conference meeting, and how to be prepared for the meeting. What is a pre-conference meeting? According to the CEMA 221 requirements, as a qualified individual, or QI, you shall arrange a pre-work conference to ensure all parties understand the participants' objectives, required deliverables, purpose and requirements for data collection and entry, and characteristics of the CEMA tasks. Meaning, as the QI, you are responsible for initiating and completing the necessary steps to carry out the soil sampling and paperwork for CEMA 221. When is a pre-conference meeting arranged? This is the fourth step in the bigger picture of the CEMA 221 being implemented. In front of you is a graphic depicting the steps that need to be taken in order for a CEMA 221 contract to be fulfilled. At the top, you will see Western CEMA 221 partner, and that is our Soil Core team. We are responsible for training qualified individuals that can competently complete the CEMA 221 contract. As you are aware, the qualified individual must complete this virtual training and a hands-on field training before they become a verified QI. This is depicted by the 1 on the graphic. Next, local NRCS staff or other partners may be recruiting producers to participate in CEMA 221. The NRCS staff will get the producer up to speed on the conservation practices they should implement and what CEMA 221 is. This is depicted by the 2 on the graphic. Once the NRCS staff has recruited producers to participate, they will use our QI registry to contract a QI for their producer. This is depicted by the 3 on the graphic. Finally, as the QI that has been contracted for CEMA 221, then you will organize a pre-work conference meeting. Now for the fun part, scheduling for the pre-work conference meeting. As the QI, there's information you need from the NRCS staff and producer in order to prepare for the pre-work conference meeting. First, you'll need to ask. You will need to know the field, forested land, or rangeland that the CEMA 221 is being conducted on. This is in the form of a GPS location. This is because you will be creating a map of the 10-acre area of interest, or AOI, and need to know the soil series in that field. 2. You'll need to schedule. You'll schedule a meeting with the producer and NRCS field staff. You'll be reviewing the area of interest, so we recommend meeting at a place with internet service or conducting a virtual meeting. 3rd, you'll need to plan. Ask the NRCS staff to bring the paperwork listed in the text box at the bottom of the slide. This is requesting the NRCS staff brings the conservation plan and/or financial aid program that the producer is enrolled in. This also requires asking the producer to bring knowledge of their land, whether it's easements or contracts they may have or had. Might also be asking the general timing of their planting plans, what irrigation they plan to use, pesticide application and timing, their tillage plan, rotation of cattle, and any other information in that same vein. This is a reminder as well that this information will be asked of you in the field questionnaire. Next, this module provides an email example for scheduling the pre-work conference meeting. By no means necessary is this a mandatory email template. However, we recommend an email with the following content. Introduce yourself. Build a sense of trust by introducing who you are, what you do, or have done that makes you excited to be contracted by the producer. Introduce the process. This part of the email you may want to use from us, but generally speaking, you are summarizing the information you learned from this module and asking for what you need from them. Request paperwork. Recall that we need information from both the producer and the NRCS staff. From the producer, you might need easement contracts like NEPA, SHPO, or others. And you need general idea for their timing of planting or irrigation, pesticide application, tillage plan, rotation of cattle, etc. From the NRCS staff, recall that you will need the conservation plan and/or equip/CSP plan because you will need to make sure that CEMA 221 meets the conservation goals. Next, we recommend providing an agenda so that the producer knows what to expect. And lastly, ask about their availability. Quick reminder to find a meeting place with internet or schedule a virtual meeting so that you can adjust the AOI or area of interest if need be in the meeting. If there is no opportunity for internet, then be sure to mention that you will have to follow up with the corrected map if adjustments were made. Once you have a time and place scheduled, we encourage sending out a calendar invite or follow-up email with an agenda. This is an example agenda for the pre-work conference meeting. By no means necessary is this a mandatory agenda template. However, we recommend an agenda with the following content. What are the conservation objectives? Is the area of interest correct? Planned sampling, anticipated cost of work, contact information and desired communication moving forward, and follow up with any revisions. Let's dive into preparing for these agenda items. Once you've scheduled the pre-work conference meeting and sent an agenda, it is time to prepare yourself for the meeting. We recommend that you familiarize yourself with CEMA, mapped AOI, sampling logistics, cost of work, and contact information. First, we will dive into a CEMA refresher. CEMA means Conservation, Evaluation, Measurement Activity. They were recognized as a crucial component in assessing the effectiveness of conservation practices implemented through NRCS programs like EQUIP. CEMAs inform the participant and conservation planner about natural resource conditions on the area evaluated. To be a well-rounded soil health testing QI, we recommend you become a QI for the following CEMAs. CEMA 221, which is intended to measure carbon in the soil pre- and post-conservation practice. CEMA 216 is intended to test for biological, chemical, and physical characteristics of soil pre- and post-conservation practice. And CEMA 217, which is intended to test nutrients and nutrient management in soil pre- and post-conservation practice. Even if you aren't the QI for all three, it is helpful to know there are other options for the producer. Next, in your preparation for the pre-work conference meeting, you will want to map the area of interest. Using Training Module 3, the Soil Web Survey walkthrough, explore the producer's land before going into the meeting. This is because it will help to inform how many soil series and therefore how many samples you will need to take for their specific contract. If you do not have the chance to review their land before you meet, we recommend bringing your laptop with the Soil Web Survey tab open to their land. This training does not cover the basics on soil series, soil horizons, or soil type, so if you're not familiar with those terms, please refresh your knowledge. We have compiled our resources on our website under Becoming a QI and QI Resources. Next, in your preparation for the pre-work conference meeting, you will want to ask the producer about their preference for the sampling method used in their contract. The CEMA provides the participant with two options. Option 1 is that it supports a sampling protocol, so a carbon stock sampling, with fewer samples collected and no requirement to share historic, baseline, and conservation management and land use history. Option 2, it supports a monitoring sampling protocol called Citizen Science that requires the participant to share historic, baseline, and conservation management and land use history. Both options are required to be repeated at the same location 5 years or more after a conservation practice has been implemented. Another way you can prepare for the pre-work conference meeting sampling logistics is to bring a calendar or use a calendar app to discuss the windows you can sample based on the planting, irrigation, pesticide application, and harvest timing that the producer may have that season. Again, this is just an estimate for when you may be sampling this coming season. Next, you should prepare an estimation of your cost of work. Understand that the power of contracting and negotiation comes with privilege, and the intent of this program is to benefit the producer And although there's financial benefit for you as the QI, we hope that in good faith you understand your greater role. The payment schedule can be found at nrcs.usda.gov/getting assistance/payment schedules. Scroll down to Report Type, select Costless Report, select your state and county you served in. Scroll to 221 and review the options. Note that the cost changes based on the sampling type we discussed earlier, whether it's citizen science or soil carbon stock sampling, and the producer served, whether that's historically underserved or not. Please reference NRCS website to better understand who might fall under historically underserved category. Lastly, the price you see is an estimate of your time. Please be aware that the producer will only be reimbursed 70% of that cost. Lastly, in your preparation for the pre-work conference meeting, you will want to have multiple forms of communication with the producer. While the first part of the contract, you will likely be emailing the producer. Later on, you might not always have access to internet, and if any last-minute decisions need to occur before or while you're in the field, you should have each other's phone number. In this module, you should have learned what a pre-work conference meeting is, how to schedule a pre-work conference meeting, asking for the necessary paperwork, scheduling the meeting with the producer and NRCS staff, sending an agenda, send a follow-up email to the producer and NRCS, and then lastly, how to prepare for a pre-work conference meeting, refreshing your knowledge on soil health CEMAs, creating an area of interest, getting familiar with the producer's management plans, discussing payment, and exchanging contact information. Follow up with all the discussed decisions and expected sampling window. Now you are prepared for a pre-work conference meeting. If you have any additional questions, please contact the Soil Core team at soilconservation@boisestate.edu and follow us on our social media.